volunteers in that scheme of things is quite a large task. And Sarah?
And I'm Sarah Blevins. I'm the Director of Puppy Raising. I also manage dog placement and foster care at our organization. We have about 750 to 825 puppies. We raise them in 8 western states plus Texas.
So why are we here? Well, I think for Sarah and I, it all started at a conference not that long ago in Vancouver, 2 years ago, where we sat down over a cup of tea and had a conversation. And that conversation is probably one that's very similar to a lot of you guys out there, which is, are your dogs stopping? Ours seem to be stopping. Why is that? And we realised that we were having some real shared issues in relation to volunteer retention, volunteer recruitment, and some of the challenges within the dog behaviours themselves. So through that discussion, it became apparent that we were both embarking at that same time on reviewing and revising our current puppy raiser training materials, so the support functions that we have outside of that direct one-to-one support. And there is a little image on the screen, which is an arrow of 5 intertwined colours, kind of demonstrating that collaboration and coming together.
Yeah, so Haley was just talking a little bit about the shared issues that we discussed when we met at the conference. We were talking about those pace, lead, and drive, as we refer to them in our organization. A lot of people call that balking. I heard there was a pretty lively discussion about balking amongst a group of people here earlier this weekend. And we really wanted to build confidence and resilience in our puppies. We knew that we needed more puppy raisers, and still do. We had a desire to create more fun and engagement for our puppy raising volunteers, and our puppy raisers were telling us the same thing in a lot of ways. They were feeling overwhelmed, they didn't know where to start in our program, and they didn't always understand the link of the curriculum that they were using to train puppies and the guide dog, the end result of what all of their hard work was. On the screen there's a photo of a golden retriever puppy kind of happily looking into the camera wearing a puppy jacket. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about Haley's going to walk away. I'm going to talk a little bit about where we started in our organization, and then Haley is going to share with you about the progress that they've made in her organization. So at GDV USA, we started this journey and we really looked at beginning with the IGDF and ADI joint dog welfare statement that came out. In our organization, we were already using positive reinforcement, we were using food rewards with our puppy raisers, but we knew we could enhance the 5 domains, and this is a journey that we are still on today. And we also really wanted to ensure that we were talking to all of the teams in our organization. So we met with training, with our vet team, and we started with the end result. What we call recall, I think a lot of you call it intake, so the dog's coming back for training. And we started with the end result and worked our way backwards. So how could we alter our recall ready standards? What were the things we wanted to change? And then we worked our way backwards from there to create the program. We also wanted to do research. We wanted to look at the latest research that was available to us and ensure that we were kind of really current and up to date as we started this journey. And on the screen there is a photo of a yellow Labrador guide wearing a harness and a black Labrador puppy wearing a green and white puppy jacket. So personally, I like to start big projects with a big question. And the big question that I asked was, are puppy raisers dog trainers? And I went and asked a lot of people in our organization and puppy raisers whether they were dog trainers. And I will tell you that we were kind of treating them like dog trainers. We had a 600+ page puppy raising manual. Yeah, I know, right? More than a ream of paper. It was huge. Wow. It was online, fortunately. It was not printed, but we didn't mean to make that. We didn't start and then write a 600-page puppy raising manual. We started with something, and then, oh, that's confusing. We'll add a resource. We'll add something, and just sort of built over time. And then there it was in front of us. And so we realized that if the answer to the question and it was no. The answer was no. Puppy raisers are not dog trainers. We had to change a lot in order to move forward with something that wouldn't overwhelm people, that would be more engaging, and that would also build those confident, resilient puppies that we wanted. So we started with an outline of this curriculum, and we started with some philosophies. We kind of wanted this guiding light for ourselves of some philosophies. And so I don't know if you've heard of the Let Them theory. It's now a best-selling New York Times book, but it's also, at the time, was just a podcast episode. But we listened to that, someone on the team listened to that, and it kind of was a thing we said to ourselves as we're going, well, can we let them do that? Yeah, let's let them. So that was something we asked ourselves all along the way. Can we let them do that? All right, let's let them. Also, kind of know better, do better. When you know better, you do better. So a lot of the things that we were learning about research led to some pretty big changes in our program. And it was scary. But we knew that they were better and we needed to do them. And we also, I talk a lot, so for anybody from my organization, sorry, I talk a lot about a bell curve. We had a program for puppies that were on every part of the bell curve, but most of our puppies fall within the bell curve. So instead, we created a program for the average, quote unquote, puppies in our program. And then we have ways to manage the outliers. And we also do the same thing with people. We have a bell curve of puppy raising volunteers, and we want to manage people within that bell curve, and then we manage the outliers, instead of creating something for everybody along the way. We removed things, and we added things. So some of the things we removed precision in cues or obedience, and we focused on teaching body language and other things. We also removed our marker word. We had a marker word for food, and we took that out. And why did we do that? Because puppy raisers are not dog trainers, and that's why we did it. There's a photo here of a person kneeling down on a sidewalk and a beautiful background with flowers and trees with an arm around a yellow lab puppy that is happily panting in the camera wearing a puppy jacket. So that leads us to what we created when we went through this process. And on the screen there is an image of a laptop, and it shows our puppy raising guidebook that we created, which is online, and what we call the fundamentals, capital F, capital U, capital N, which is our new puppy raising curriculum. And it is by age, so there are 3 sections. Again, the focus is nurturing confidence, resilience, and curiosity in puppies. We introduced this through our first ever in-person summit for our leaders. We brought them all to our campus and introduced this program to them. Our leaders obviously live in 9 states, so that was a pretty big undertaking for us. Our puppies are raised in clubs with volunteer leaders, and then those leaders are managed by staff as well. We did online town halls, we did workshops, and we had a 6-month transition time between the time that we introduced the program and the time that we actually said, and now this is the program. And we let people play with it and get used to it, especially our current volunteers. So we have this kind of fun, interactive education model that's online. It's searchable, and it's learn as you go. So instead of that 600-page manual, which we said, like, read this and get back to us when you're ready to raise a puppy. This is like, what do I need to know right now? What do I need to know to get started? And we also created a new onboarding for our puppy raising volunteers that gave us, we have a workshop, and if you do a little online course and you come to this workshop, you've learned what you need to know to raise a puppy from 2 months to 5 months, and you're ready to go. It took a lot longer in our program to onboard people before, because they needed to kind of learn the whole thing before they could understand where to start. And now we don't even talk about the end, we talk about the end result, but they can just learn that part of it. We have an index by topic. We also simplified our policies and procedures a lot. Again, the Let Them theory, very helpful there. And we created puppy raising guiding principles. We had a lot of individual rules along the way for things that we wanted to, people to follow, and all of these rules about dogs, rules about people, and we tried to create these sort of overarching things. So for people, we had our Guide Dogs for the Blind values and behaviors, and that kind of covers everything: kindness, teamwork, collaboration. And then we created puppy raising guiding principles, and that's about the partnership between a puppy raiser and the puppy, providing that puppy excellent vet care, paying attention to that puppy's needs, and that overarching thing allowed us to get rid of all those pages of rules. And everything that happens with a puppy and a raiser about the dog, we can point to the guiding principles. Any people-to-people things, we can point to our values and behaviors. Makes life much simpler. And I do want to say, obviously we've had some challenges. Of course we've had some challenges. So I say sometimes we are not a tugboat, we are a container ship. So we have a lot of volunteers, and it takes a while to turn the ship. We're not just gonna turn on a dime, so adoption rates are different for people, depending on where they're at with the curriculum. Curriculum officially launched a year ago, May of 2024, so we're still in the process of that, and questions and learning. We also needed to have a lot of alignment in our management team in order to kind of follow these new guiding principles and this new way of managing volunteers. And we really needed to have that team alignment along the way. Okay, now we're going to talk about the stuff for the dog nerds in the room. I didn't mention earlier that I'm not a dog trainer. I am more of a people manager, so I'm going to share with you some of our curriculum highlights. On the screen, there is a photo of what we call our Yes Space, and the Yes Space is new in our program, and it is a way for puppies to learn gradual confinement instead of immediately transitioning to a crate from our puppy center. And they kind of get to choose their own adventure. This is their space. Only good things happen in the Yes Space. And the Yes Space consists of usually a wire crate and then a connected, what's called a play yard in America. But most importantly, it does not have horizontal bars, only vertical bars. The puppy can't climb out like an exercise pin. There is a potty tray in there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a potty tray in the corner, and then there are toys, there is water. And with this Yes Space, the puppy gets to have this safe space to sleep. They also can potty, and I can tell you that our puppy raisers love that. They put their puppy in the Yes Space, and a lot of times the puppy doesn't even wake them up. Because this is how puppies operate in our puppy center. They're used to this. They're used to having a place to target. They actually do learn to target a potty space, so they transition really well here. Eventually they just transition into sleeping in the crate, and you just eventually phase this out over time, and there's a whole way to do that that we teach them. We also introduced foraging and food-containing toys, lick mats. We didn't have those in our program previously. Adventure walks, I think some people call them decompression walks or sniffy walks. So we have a protocol for that our puppy raisers can follow in order to get those breaks in. We introduced a version of the bucket game. It's not exactly the bucket game that was introduced by the person who created it, but it is a version of it, and it levels up through the curriculum, so they learn that over time. In a way, these things, some of them are simpler, and in a way, some of the things are more sophisticated. We talk a lot more about dog body language, a lot more. And so we expect our puppy raisers to kind of learn that part so that they can understand the signals their puppy is giving them over time, and ensuring that that can happen. We have a really gradual introduction to loose leash walking. We have a delayed introduction to the head collar. They don't wear the head collar. They introduce it really quickly in the beginning, and then they don't use it again until the puppy is 6 months. They kind of let them explore their world and go out there and see things and explore them without being inhibited by the head collar. And we really wanted to build those resilience early with novel experiences. We also wanted to remove some barriers from our puppy raising program. We introduced a fundamental support program where we help puppy raisers pay for some of the equipment that's needed, especially for this Yes Space, because it's not inexpensive for food and other things that they may need. And I just want to say our success data is TBD. Not all these puppies, even that started this program, it was just a year ago, right? And through those first 6 months, that kind of doesn't count. They were exploring, they were doing what they needed to do. So we're not quite there yet. It is fairly new. Also on the screen, there is a photo of one of the materials from our puppy packet that we give people. It's titled Let's Get This Puppy Started, and it has QR codes that lead them to different parts of our guidebook. Instead of printing all of we printed some of those things for them in their puppy packet. And there's a young Labrador, black Labrador puppy on the handout, kind of half smiling maybe, along the way. Okay, the last thing I'd like to say, and on the screen there is an image of a paw print, and it's covered in words that kind of describe our updated curriculum, and that includes Curious, the fundamentals, confident, play, drive, forward, explore. This program is open source, and because she's here, I want to give a big shout out to our CEO, Chris Pinniger, because it's something to go to your CEO and say, I want to put this on the website, and I want it to be public. I also want to give a huge shout out to my team. They poured their heart, soul, tears, everything into this program. They wrote and created this program in a very, and I mean very, short amount of time. And when I asked them if they would be willing to share it, they said yes. And when I asked Chris, she said yes. So thank you. That was really part of this very impactful IGDF experience that we had at the last conference and continue to have. So thank you to all of you. We did create a terms of service or terms of use guidelines. They are on the same website page. All it says basically is if you do use our materials, we just ask that you cite us. That's it. Otherwise, they are completely open source. If you visit our website, which is guidedogs.com/puppy, you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see a link that says Puppy Raising Guidebook. It's going to take you to that page. You're going to find the fundamentals curriculum, and you're going to find everything, literally everything that our puppy raisers have.
Yeah.
Okay, and now Haley is going to talk to you about GDP UK. So
Thanks, everybody. So yeah, Guide Dogs UK, I'm going to click, there we go. So there is a picture on the screen of a supermarket aisle with a little puppy sat looking up at his puppy raiser, his little black lab with his little puppy lead on and puppy in training, lead flash on. So Guide Dogs UK already had an amazing starting foundation for what we were trying to review. So we had our Puppy Raising for Excellent partnership materials. A little bit like Sarah described, it's really easy to get excited when you're creating something. And it grows, and it became quite large. 600 pages is probably about right. And over 50 behaviours that we were asking our puppy raisers to train. So again, I think the ethos being if we create a situation where we're giving somebody everything to set up and set it up in a really good way, get their antecedent arrangement right, really make sure they're looking at everything they could possibly do. But that can be really quite overwhelming for our puppy raisers. And I think that the feedback that we got from them was very much on that side of things, just being quite overwhelmed, again, not knowing where to start. And every person and every dog is different. So by giving some people everything at once, they get overwhelmed, other people love it. Whereas actually by giving people bite-sized materials, which they can easily access depending on behaviour, it allows them to access what they need, when they need it, depending on the situation at hand. So certain things that absolutely are still the focus of our Guide Dogs puppy raising programme, using positive reinforcement training methods, and we have 4 core principles of training that run all the way through from puppy raising through to handling with guide dogs. So there is that great foundation. We've not kind of scrapped everything, we've just kind of listened to that feedback and sort of looked at where we can improve things for our volunteers. So some of the feedback being, as it says on the slide, just that level of detail and sheer volume. So, also our volunteer learning platform. Our volunteer learning platform is a platform called Calidus, and I myself, I will admit to getting a little confused when you click on something and you start it, it disappears from where it was and it ends up somewhere else. So when you've got a large volume of material you're asking people to go through and it keeps moving, it can be quite challenging for them. So one of the key things that we wanted to introduce was a centralised point, something that they could save and download as a PDF that had direct links that would take them onto that learning platform and directly to those individualised behaviours. And again, like Sarah's team, starting with the end in mind. So there is a picture on the slide that shows our puppy progression chart, and this is like our gateway to our training materials now. So we didn't want to put specific ages for each box, because again, if people don't hit it, bang on those weeks, they feel like they're not actually achieving. So we put a graduation across the top from 12 weeks to 12 months. And the information in each box is just a snapshot of roughly where your puppy should be as you're transitioning through your programme. All of the stuff in the 12 months column is in line with our intake standards. So it's looking at and having that forward-thinking information of when I get here, what should it look like? So people can really start with that end in mind. So we listened to lots of different user groups. We spoke to puppy raisers primarily, because they're the ones using it on the ground, and asked them what they were struggling with. And this has had, in the year and a bit it's been out, over 3,000 clicks and downloads. So this is definitely something that people are valuing, and feedback about that ease of access is strong. So we are very pleased with our puppy progression chart. Some key areas as well where we definitely knew we needed to strengthen the materials was around that addressing how to fix issues. As I say, a lot of our videos are brilliant, really, hands out to the guys who create the previous videos, but feedback was some of them could be quite lengthy, and it is great to see how it should look, but what do I do if it doesn't look like that? Because effectively one puppy raiser compared it to a cookbook and said to me, I don't know, show of hands, when you look at the picture in the cookbook and you make something the first time, how many of you would say it looks like that? Probably not a lot. So yeah, very much they wanted to have sort of snapshot real life videos of puppy raisers in the moment, doing things that slightly go wrong, and how do I fix it, and how does that help me? So we created, and I will say big thanks, I've got one of my puppy development advisors in the room, she's over there, Bethan. So we went to our team in puppy development and said, right guys, you've all got smartphones, we need you to go out on the ground with your puppy raisers every day, and they're probably not going to look as smart and professional, and the design team are going to kill me when I get back with them, because they're going to have to make them look as posh as possible, but we need this content. So can you guys create it with your volunteers, get them involved and get them working on it. So this is just a very short video, and again, length of videos, big thing. They want a snapshot, they want to watch it quick. So this is a puppy raiser in her home with I think it might be a cross, but with a yellow lab puppy, and she's putting the puppy lead on.
Managing early lead problems. A puppy raiser clips a lead on her puppy, but the puppy starts nibbling at the lead and won't let go.
That's it. So if you just offer him a treat to swallow.
She uses kibble to get the puppy to release the lead.
So, super.
Caption: try offering kibble before clipping the lead on. The puppy raiser now offers her pup kibble to keep them distracted whilst she attaches the lead.
Perfect. And then he can have another one when he's finished.
Remember, every puppy is an individual. The techniques shown in this video are just one example of how to train your puppy. For more support, please refer to your guidance or contact your puppy development advisor. The Guide Dogs logo.
Sometimes it's that simple. And I think that's what's key, is sometimes it can literally be a minute and a half, and it can be that simple. But it's good to remind people, even that's not an ultimate fix for everyone. So do speak to your member of staff that manages you. Again, a major area of refocus for us was that guide dog owner why, which I think has been throughout all of our presentations, that key understanding of actually who is benefiting, why am I doing this? So again, each of our behaviour columns starts with the guide dog owner why video, really focusing on the puppy raiser understanding from the off why it is important to teach that behaviour in that way. Picture shows a puppy in a T-touch harness, slightly older puppy in a train station with a train approaching. So I'll play this one now. This is off lead, which I know is a big thing. And so there's a lady on screen with a German Shepherd on the beach.
Why teach recall? In this video, a guide dog owner speaks about how having a dog confident in this behaviour benefits their day-to-day life. Footage of a German Shepherd guide dog enjoying a free run at the beach.
It's really nice for her to meet up with other dogs and have a play, and she loves it. She loves to be able to socialise with other dogs. The most important thing is that I can trust for her to come back when I call her, because there are dangers out, there might be other dogs that you need to get her back to you if there's other dogs misbehaving.
Guide dog owner John lets his dog Benji off lead in a park.
Do you want to go for a run? Hey, good boy, off you go then.
Here, guide dog Benji is off lead whilst wearing his T-touch harness. When your puppy is off lead, for safety reasons, please remove any T-touch harnesses unless specifically advised differently by your PDA. The guide dog's logo.
So as I say, short, sharp, simple. And I think that's the key messages, that it really hits home. And I think from the guide dog owner's perspective, it's inclusive, that the understanding is present. So when people think, is it really important they come back and touch my hand? That demonstrates why it is so important. And we've had really good feedback about that as well. A big thing for us, as I was saying about the video content, it's created for, but also by our staff and our volunteers. That feeling of being involved in the development of something that is so key to being their support materials is invaluable. Feeling like their feedback is being listened to, and that actually they can come to you with a problem, and that might turn into helping someone else fix a problem, builds that community feeling as well. So something we're doing, which is really important, continuous development. So we've got in now a factored annual review of our materials. We're going to get it right in some ways, and we're going to miss things in others. When you reduce something quite significantly, and you try and sort of minimise that ability to kind of read that context, you're going to have to review it regularly to make sure you're capturing things. And especially with us, what we've linked in with as well is making sure that we're looking at end-to-end. So what are our current withdrawal reasons? What are we seeing as a trend in behaviours that's going into training? Because that comes from here. So we will have to go back and review that and look at how we can then amend and update and improve our materials to better support our volunteers to enable that to fix that issue. But the volunteer engagement and that involvement is key. And I will bring Seb. So there was a picture on there of two dogs sat in the boot of a car. Sorry, I forgot about that one. I knew I'd missed one.
It's all good. It's all good. So kind of back to the collaboration between Haley and I, and again, that really impactful meeting that we had.
Simple conversation over a coffee can grow quite significantly.
Never know. On the screen, there's an image of, or a drawing really, of a hand, and it's holding like a plant growing out of it. We then asked ourselves, if it's not just us, we know that others are also being impacted by all the same things and maybe on similar journeys to us. So what could we do? So we created an IGDF puppy raising collaboration group. It has puppy raising leaders from 8 different schools from around the world. We created a formal agreement that was signed by the CEO of every one of those organizations, and we meet together monthly. We have, confidentiality and a lot of other things built in, and we talk about our challenges and try to kind of help each other. And also, that group, we're excited to say, is working on a project that will benefit hopefully all IGDF and ADI organizations, and that is creating a collaborative project of puppy raising materials that can be used by schools in different countries of different sizes, hopefully kind of something for everyone that just sort of goes over the kind of basic principles of raising a puppy no matter where you are or how you do it, just the basic things, socialization, confidence, all of those things. So we are excited to be working on that. And the final thing is a slide that says questions. This slide also contains Haley and I's email addresses. We are happy to answer any questions with whatever time we have left now, and also Camille and Ava. And I will just share that Haley's email address is haley.andrews@guidedogs.org.uk, and my email address is S as in Sarah. My last name is BLEVINS@guidedogs.com. I also have business cards in my pocket, and I also have some goodies up here, so happy to hand some of those out either for questions or afterwards. So,
Thank you.
Well done, panel. That was absolutely fantastic. A wonderful example of collaboration using really solid research and data to improve outcomes and the experience for our volunteers. So that was amazing. Well done. We do have, before we take some questions, we've got some gifts for our speakers. So thank you so much. A bit of R+ for you. And we will be offering R+ for anybody who wants to ask a question. So thank you so much once again. And we'll now take some questions from the floor. Thank you, Antoine.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Just one question. Do you manage differently puppy raisers that are working and the ones who are not working, like retired people or things like that? Is there differences in your way of managing them?
I'm happy to go. So yeah, we used to have criteria which meant anybody who worked full-time wouldn't be able to puppy raise for us, and obviously with the change in working culture and cost of living and people working from home much more flexibly, we now assess that on an individual basis. I'd say it's a work in progress. I'd say some people don't clearly understand the expectations as to what having a very young puppy in their house is. So we're kind of looking at the moment of that starter home ethos, and actually are older puppies better suited in that environment with less breaks. We see our puppy raisers every 6 weeks. Our staff manage them, and they will also be offered the opportunity to go to a puppy class once a month. I would say we will do everything in a person-centered way, so whoever is struggling, if they need more support, will get more support. But if it is specifically because they're working from home and they need to sort of re-engage and look at how they balance their day, then their puppy development advice will be there to support them. We're looking at the success rates with that, and I think for me the biggest thing, if you're going to do it, if you don't already do it, is looking at how you make it very clear and apparent what that kind of first 6 weeks of your life will look like, because otherwise you'll find that you won't retain them and you'll be moving that puppy again. Run, Jane.
Click me for speed.
Yeah.
You talked about reducing the workload, which we are trying to do as well. So stop overwhelming the puppy raisers. You've done that now. If you look back, what are the 2 or 3 things? If you told me those are the 2 or 3 biggest things that make the biggest, we dropped those things, made the biggest impact on helping to not overwhelm the puppy raisers. What would those 2 or 3 things be?
I think for us, the 2 or 3 things would be necessary. Dropping the marker word, for sure. Learning the timing of a marker word is challenging, even for an experienced dog trainer. So dropping that was definitely a big thing. And then I think, I mean, honestly, I do think the Yes Space is probably, it's not like a training tool, but it is a like management tool of living with a puppy when they first come home and needing to manage them. You know, they have a space where they know that they're safe and they don't have to put them on a tie down or into a food.
And I would say for us, where we really looked at that, what is fundamental to them going into training versus what is a nice to have. So I think if you look at what is a must and what is a nice to have, and you don't get rid of the nice to haves, because as I say, not all of our puppy raisers are dog trainers, but some of them are really good. So actually our puppy development advisors still have access to be able to give people extra, because equally you don't want people getting bored and frustrated because they're not able to progress. So I would say our biggest thing was just looking at what is a nice to have and a must have and splitting those. So there isn't a huge amount, but those are in separate pages that PDAs can graduate and give out as and when. Whereas as long as the puppies can tick these boxes, they can go in. And that's the core purpose of that puppy raising. So I would say that is your starting point for sure.
I don't know what time it actually is, but the timer's red now.
Cool.
Okay. Let's change time.
Okay, hi, I'm Ova. I'm GDMA from France. I do puppy raising teaching too. Thank you for your presentation and making sure there is contact for both small and big organizations, very important. I do share this opinion that the volunteers are not dog trainers, but still I have worked with puppy raisers that want to be dog trainers. And how do you get them not frustrated about reducing the work?
I'm thinking
You think.
about. No, I mean, I think there's a pretty straightforward answer, and it's similar to what Haley just said, which is that there are levels in the curriculum, and there are basically the minimum, right? Like this dog is ready for recall is sort of a minimum thing, but there are levels to that, and so they can teach loose leash walking at a higher level. They can teach things at a level that is above kind of what is the absolute minimum that they need to do. Also, we do have puppy raising field managers who can do a similar thing that Haley was mentioning. So again, I think it's that individual with the person and the dog, both. You know, what is the dog ready for? What is the person ready for? I do think that you know, the simplified curriculum for some of our puppy raisers is very, very different. You know, a group of people did like the 600+ page manual. They enjoyed that because they were dog trainers and they wanted to learn those things. And again, I think you have to think about your bell curve.
And we've got time for one more question, but please do go and see our panel. We would love to discuss this further with you. So just the last one here.
Hi, it's Andrea with CNIB Guide Dogs. Just a quick question. So since you have everything online now for your volunteers, do you find that they're jumping ahead now, especially ones that are repeats?
We actually haven't had a lot of them jumping ahead, which may pressure the puppy, right? They haven't been doing that mostly. I think that it's more the holdover from the experienced people knew the previous program, and I think for that transition has been a lot more difficult. But again, there's quite a few optional things that people can do, but because there's so much emphasis on what is the puppy ready for, dog body language, that has curbed a little bit of that over time. But you know, there's 3,000 of them, so all the things are happening. Let's just say that.
And I think it's important to remember the training materials don't replace the staff input. So actually, if you find someone is getting, as they do, they're motivated, they're passionate, they're overexcited, you can explain why they need to rein it back in. So yeah, the two in collaboration, isn't it?